watching the Bulldog Brewhouse podcast.
Hey folks, it's Steve Grover back here for another episode of the Bulldog Brewhouse podcast. Again, I just want to give a big shout out to my friends at Subs and Such here in Calgary. They are the sponsor for this episode this evening. So if you ever get the hungries or the munchies, head down to see my buddies Reggie and his wife Tanya at Subs and Such, and they'll fill your belly and making sure you're not hungry anymore, okay? So tonight we have probably the most celebrated Ducati salesman in Canada, Miles from Barne. What's it called? Barne's
Powersports Blackfoot.
Okay,
is the current.
All right. Okay, that's a mouthful now. Hey,
it's a little. I still answer the phone, Blackfoot Motorsports, but it'll wean its way out.
Okay, eventually Andy will have it instill in your head where it's subconsciously you'll be saying Barnes, Blackfoot Motorsports.
Yeah, just got to get that muscle memory. I mean, I've been there since 2009, so old habits die hard.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being here. Obviously, we've known each other for quite some time, and obviously this is a new venture we're doing with the pod. It's not called a podcast; it's called a podcast. Okay. For the Dogs of Law, Winston and Roseville here. Okay. And now, obviously, we have Ducati Red Grover Law Firm coffee mug. So cheers!
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, Steve, that's
good coffee. It's Colombian.
Stuff hits hard.
It's straight from Medellin, where Pablo Escobar used to drink coffee. All right. So for everyone, I know you for a while, but for everyone out there, all the audience, tell everybody who is Miles and where do you work and what do you do for Barnes, Blackfoot, Powersports, Motorsports.
So my name's Miles. I'm the Ducati brand champion at Barnes Powersports Blackfoot. It's a position that I really feel that I'm honored to hold. It's there's only one Ducati brand champion in all of Southern Alberta, and I get to be it. So
I was right saying you're one of the best salesmen in Canada.
Hey, I'm not going to toot my own horn.
All right,
but I've been doing that at Barnes Powersports Blackfoot for. I guess we took on the Ducati brand in 2019, and I jumped on right then. Mm-hmm. I'd been with the dealership since, like I said, 2009. So I'm not a fresh. I'm not.
You're not a newbie.
I'm not a newbie. No. I'm
You've been around the block. So if someone tries a weasel deal out of you on a Ducati, you know how to negotiate with them.
Deals on Ducatis.
There's none to be had.
The deal is that you can have this motorcycle. That is a great deal.
The deal is you buy it, you look sexy, and you'll get a girlford no matter what, right? Or a boyfriend.
No, hey, I'm not making any guarantees of that nature. Okay. But I had a customer call me yesterday, just talking about his new Panigale V4 and how there's a bunch of girls in a car behind him hooting and hollering at him. So there is something about Ducatis that, it grabs you. It's grabbed me. It's a brand that people really, really aspire to have in their life.
Okay.
And I love to be able to facilitate that for people, making dreams come true. Right?
Okay, like Grover Law Firm, we like to make dreams come true and bring justice to everybody that's injured in a car accident or motorcycle accident. So tell us, where are you originally from? Are you from Calgary or somewhere else in Canada?
I was born in Winnipeg. My folks moved us out to Sherwood Park when I was just a wee lad, and then down to Calgary when I was about 6. Okay. So I've been in Calgary for a long time. I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, but...
Well, after 21, age is just a number, right? Because you hit 21, you can drink anywhere in the world.
That's right.
You go to Vegas, San Diego.
It's all about where in the world you can drink, Steve.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, if you're 19, you can't go to Vegas and party. You can party, but you can't buy liquor.
That's correct. Yes.
You can't gamble. So once you hit 21, you can drink anywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Then you're a grown up.
So how did you get into riding? You've been riding motorcycles for a while now?
Well, my intro to riding, my dad had it became my first bike, but my dad had a 1972 Honda XL 250, dual sport, kickstart, heavy, silver, sparkly. And it was in our backyard and then in our garage when we moved down to Calgary under a roll of old carpeting. And I'd always go out and sit on it and play with it and just fantasize about about it. And when I was a kid, it was
about being cool, riding in California with a hot babe on the back. Christine Brinkley or Ella McPherson or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, back then I was probably, who would have been my celebrity? Alyssa Milano probably would have been more my wheelhouse.
Your age group.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I was always more drawn to bikes versus cars and trucks. My favorite show when I was a wee lad was Chips. I loved Ponch and Banks.
Eric Estrada with his fancy white teeth going all the time. Yeah.
Big pearly whites.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird. I was always into bikes, be it bicycles, and I'd pretend that they were motorcycles or toys. It was always, if there's a car here and a motorcycle here, I'm gonna play with the motorcycle from a very young age. And I had an Evel Knievel stunt cycle toy that I put through hell, and it was an innate thing. And I rode bicycles all through when I was a kid, and then when I think I was 16, I wanted to get I wanted to get my motorcycle license first. My folks said, no, you got to get a car driver's license first. But once I had my car driver's license, I wanted to get my bike license, and so my dad and I, we worked on that XL 250, cleaned out the carbs, replaced the plugs, new gap, and just kicked over almost instantly, like 2 or 3 kicks, and it was going, and even then it was a 25-year-old bike, and it's a Honda, right?
So they don't die.
No,
Japanese bikes don't die.
No, they do not. So and that was the beginning of the end, and I was hooked.
Okay.
As soon as I got on it, I'd ridden dirt bikes and quads. That my mom's family had a cabin out in Manitoba, and I'd ride the odd dirt bike around, and I loved it. Like it was fantastic. But once I had a motorcycle license and I could ride this thing on the road legally, it was all over, man. And I haven't stopped since.
So then how did you get into the motorcycle industry, working?
Motorcycle industry. I was working in a ski shop. Seasonally, I'd work in a ski shop.
Here in Calgary or
Banff? Here in Calgary. Okay. Shout out to Techno Sport. Fantastic ski shop in Calgary. If you need great gear, great boots, great advice, that's the place to go to. I was working at Techno Sport. Fantastic ski shop in town. But it's a seasonal business, as is motorcycling.
Yeah.
And what I was doing in the off season, I was looking for a job, and I'd been working in bicycle shops in between. The owner of the ski shop had become a partner in a Ducati dealership in Calgary called Revoluzione.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
They're still around, or they're gone?
Sadly long gone.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ciao. Revoluzione.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. It was a fantastic little shop. It was only Ducati. My job basically subsisted of. So I guess the owner of the ski shop who was a partner in Revoluzione said, "Okay, well I think I can get you a part-time job here."
Yeah.
Because part owner. So my job entailed basically when customers came in, I was like a Walmart greeter, but a bit higher end than a Walmart store. Customer would come in and I'd offer them a cappuccino or espresso, a coffee, and offer to show them around the bike, show them around the store, offer them a test ride. I'd take customers out on test rides on the demo bikes. They had a great fleet of demo bikes, so every night it was eeny, meeny, miny, mo, which is coming home with me tonight.
Okay.
And it was my introduction to the Powersports industry. Worked there 2 seasons, and then they had to fold.
Okay. So what was the issue? Why did they fold?
Well, the thing with a single line dealership is that you have to sell enough product to stay open, but you've only got one brand.
Yeah.
And single line dealerships in North America are difficult to stay afloat.
But there are Ducati dealerships like the AMS Ducati Dallas.
Oh yeah,
I think that's all Ducati.
There's plenty of
dealerships that do well. Yeah,
there's a number of them in the States.
Yeah,
there's only 2 in Canada.
Which ones are those?
So there's Ducati Montreal, which is part of Moto Illimité, but it's its own dealership. It's got its own building, its own staff, and and its own service people dedicated to the brand.
Yeah.
And then there's Ducati Richmond out in Vancouver.
BC. But don't they sell BMW too?
No.
Really?
Ducati Richmond does not. Okay. That would be, I think that's Island Motorsports.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it's a tough go to just carry one brand. So right now where I am, I'm the only person who is dedicated full time to the Ducati brand.
Okay.
We've got service technicians who are factory trained and work pretty much exclusively on the Ducatis. Mm-hmm. But as it is, I'm kind of the only person at BPS Blackfoot that really looks after all facets of the brand in a way. Yeah. Certainly with lots of help to all my colleagues and coworkers. I couldn't do it without them, obviously.
Yeah.
But at Revolution, I was one of maybe 15 staff members, and there's just not enough income to support that kind of staff and the building. And
so they have a lot of staff, but that includes service techs, receptionists, all that stuff. So how many salespeople did they have at Revolution?
Well, there was one real sales guy, sales manager, and then there was myself and another individual who were kind of the junior sales guys, or we were ambassadors. We weren't considered sales guys. Like I didn't write up deals.
No,
I got them to the point of, I think I'd like to maybe inquire about purchasing one of these bikes. So once I'd taken them on the test ride,
without my wife knowing about it.
Well, hey man, I'm not delving into any sort of marital issues. But I would say that we had maybe just more people than we needed. Because there were 3 sales guys, give or take. There was a controller, there was a service writer, there was 2 or 3 technicians. There's a number of partners, CEO, president. So there's just not enough in the pot to spread around to everybody.
There wasn't enough fish in the pond for everyone to eat.
And I mean that year. So when just before they closed was 2008, and that was a year where basically the economy kind of collapsed on us.
We remember that. It was Wall Street almost. Sachs Brothers and Goldman and Sachs. They all went under. And
so back then, motorcycles, exotic Italian. And back then, not quite as reliable, but motorcycles with tight service intervals, with high prices, very discretionary purchase. That was the
tight market.
That was the end of Revoluzione, because they'd had some success in prior years where people were just walking up and handing them stacks of cash to buy whatever 749, 999 they could get their hands on, Monster, Sport Classic, what have you. But,
so then you go to Blackfoot.
Yeah, so then I when they closed, I was still working my winter job at the ski shop, and they closed over the winter, and I was left without a job again. But one of our good customers at the ski shop was one of the partners, one of the owners of Blackfoot Motorsports.
Okay.
And so
which one was that?
That was Pat Chambers.
Yeah, Pat Chambers.
He's a big skier, and his kids were all in skiing, and I helped them out with their skis and their boots and their racing careers, racing careers. So we just said, hey Pat, Miles is looking for a summer job.
Yeah.
Got any space for him over at Blackfoot? And they put me in the dirt bike apparel section, motocross apparel, because it's an easy way to get your foot into the
and you're going to sell stuff. I mean, no matter what, dirt bikes apparel sells. Dirt bikes sell like crazy.
Yep.
It's an easy sport to get into.
I mean, the interesting thing, part of the reasoning that the parts and accessories manager at that time thought I would be a good fit in the motocross section was because, this is not a word of a lie, ski boots and motocross boots both have buckles.
Yeah. Okay.
So therefore, you know how to operate buckles? You're going into the motocross apparel section.
All right. Okay.
And I excelled. I did well. I learned about all the apparel and all the gear as someone who came from a street riding background without a whole lot of motocross experience. I was able to tie in some of my road experience and learn enough about the motocross apparel and what people are looking for to be pretty successful in the motocross apparel section, to the point where, maybe we move you over to the street apparel side of things, where the dollar values are higher.
Yeah.
Customers aren't maybe as willing to spend right away because the prices are higher.
Yeah.
And you need a little bit more knowledge and need a bit softer touch with some of the customers.
Yeah.
So they moved me over there, and I did that seasonally, working in the ski shop in the winters and in the bike shop in the summers up until 2019. We were finally able to get the license to deal Ducati motorcycles.
So there was another dealership in town. They sort of didn't do well financially, and they got the dealership pulled from them, sort of?
Well, they were looking to
close.
There's a little
drama with that, wasn't there?
I don't know about drama, but that dealership was not looking to lose the brand.
Yeah.
They didn't want to give it up.
Yeah.
However, they couldn't stay in the building that they were in. So they were going to move to they had 2 locations. They were going to move, the 2 brands that they were going to hang on to had intended to be Bombardier, Can-Am, and Ducati.
Yeah.
Ducati didn't approve, I suppose, of the new facility. There's corporate identity requirements that every licensed dealer has to abide by in terms of square footage, in terms of visibility, in terms of signage, in terms of all kinds of different things. So it was decided that they would not be carrying on as a licensed Ducati dealer. And the brand was homeless in Calgary for that whole summer, basically, of 2018.
Well, I remember that because I bought a Pikes Peak from the old dealership, and they closed down, and I was so mad. And I said, you know what? I'm never going to buy another Ducati in Calgary. This is total baloney. You know, I'm left hanging with this bike.
Bologna.
Yeah, Bologna. But I just said, there's no bloody way I'm going to go BMW or Harley or Kawasaki, something reliable. And I was so mad. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then you guys, then all of a sudden I get a call from my bro, Trevor Deck. You know him. Too cool. Hey,
absolutely.
Steve, chill out, brother. Everything's cool. Blackfoot is picking up Ducati. I said, bullshit. And I said, there's no bloody way. And then before I know it, I walk in, I meet you, and you guys have the whole dealership at Blackfoot, correct?
Yeah. And I remember that. That was the motorcycle show. That was the first Ducati that I sold at Blackfoot. Was to you. It was a Pikes Peak.
It was another Pikes Peak, because I've gone through 3 or 4 now.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you got good taste. What can I say? And it was interesting because we didn't know if we were getting the deal or the license. I had been told, okay, look, we think we're going to bring you on. We're going to be signing this deal or this licensing agreement right before the motorcycle show. So it was the day before the 2019 Calgary Motorcycle Show. I was being trained on this whole model lineup and this is what you need to do. It was the day before. I had to learn the entire catalog, the entire model lineup in, like I said, a couple of hours beforehand. And so we went there. We were wearing our Ducati shirts, myself and my colleague at the time, Raul. Both of us fresh sales guys. We had.
I remember Raul. He's a good guy.
Absolutely. Salt of the earth. Love the guy. And he's still doing well. He's selling accessories and parts for one of the biggest distributors in Canada. So he's still in the industry. No, Motovan.
Motovan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's still in the industry. He's still around. He still loves Ducatis too. So,
Okay.
But yeah, it was interesting. It was straight trial by fire, and the joke was, okay, whoever sells the most Ducatis during this weekend gets the champion position. And while I did beat you, Raul, Raul was given the champion position because he'd been with the company in a full-time position for longer than I.
Okay.
And that's okay. So they brought me in there to sell the Ducatis and the BMWs and the Triumphs as kind of a jack-of-all-trades salesman. And then it wasn't long before Raul moved on, and
didn't you have a Sicilian tie to get him out of the Blackfoot? Wasn't it some mafiosa guys?
Hey man,
okay, you're gonna keep that quiet.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Godfather. You didn't call the Godfather to get rid of him? No?
Of course not. I would never do that to my boy.
All right.
So Raul moved on, and I was given the opportunity to take the brand on by myself.
Yeah.
And I did that, and it's been fantastic. I've been really enjoying it, selling lots of bikes and making lots of people happy. I mean, I don't save lives and I don't educate our nation's children, but I think that I provide a pretty valuable
service. You put a big smile on their face.
Right.
You give them you get a big check from them, and you give them a sexy looking red Ducati.
That's right.
And before you know it, you got a guy calling you and say, "Hey, all these chicks in this car were honking at me."
It happens. Absolutely, it happens.
You may have married some men. All of a sudden they meet a woman or a guy, and they get married, and everything's set, right?
Yeah, I don't even use pronouns anymore. No, and it's funny because I will go out on test rides, and it's a very common experience for me to be out on a test ride with a customer and pull up at a light next to somebody, and they're hanging out their truck window, thumbs up. Sick bike, bro. And
okay.
So it's a brand that, if I wasn't dealing the Ducati brand, I don't know that I'd be in motorcycle sales.
No,
I'm that passionate about this brand. It is, I mean, I probably could have moved into the sales department.
You wouldn't be working for Tata Motors in India selling their little motorcycles, the 100 cc's.
I think I might give that a pass. I might pass on that.
So Blackfoot takes on. Was this a big risk for them to take on Ducati? Were the owners scared about it? Because there was this kind of animosity because I had bought a bike at the other dealership. I sold my previous Pikes Peak to a good guy. Sold it to me, the sales guy there, and I was kind of upset about it because it did leave some people in limbo. But Ducati is like the Ferrari of motorcycles out there, correct? Yeah, they're
frequently compared to them. They might prefer if we call them the Lamborghini of motorcycles, hence just with the
tie-in with Audi and everything.
But I don't know if there was much nervousness.
Was the owners worried about this deal at all? That it was going to survive, or they just thought it was a small market? It wouldn't really, but it has flourished there.
We've grown the business over the past 4 years that we've had the brand. We're selling, as far as I know, more Ducatis through BPS Blackfoot than have been sold through any of the other dealerships that have been around in Calgary. I would say that interesting thing is that 2019 was not the first time that Blackfoot tried to acquire the Ducati brand. It had become available a couple of times after Revoluzione closed, and then after Calgary Ducati, or the Wild Brothers Harley Davidson dealership. They tried it up there, and they didn't.
I bought a Ducati from them. One of the first Diablo.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, black one.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So the brand had come up available a couple of times, and they almost had it when that previous dealership scooped it out from under us. And it was simply because they were willing to put in a larger initial orders, as far as I know it, the truth. I hope I'm not breaching any confidentiality.
No. I think anyways, you got a lawyer here anyways. This is all lawyer-client.
This is all on board. And I don't think there's anything that's necessarily hidden.
Well, they knew it was going to flourish. There wasn't a big risk on taking the Lamborghini. Like I grew up here in Calgary. This is definitely not New York. I mean, Calgary's a great city. It's not Toronto. I mean, there's big money in Toronto. Montreal, there's big money in Toronto. Sure. New York, Miami Beach, there's huge money down there. Houston, Dallas. I mean, Calgary's a good city. There's a lot of oil money here, and we see it every day. Obviously, in the roads or in the houses that they're selling for $9.8 million now in Elbow Park, which is ridiculous. But we're talking back in 2018-19. Oil prices go up and down, but there was a confidence of Blackfoot saying, okay, we're going to take on Ducati and we're going to make this successful, correct?
It's the most desirable two-wheel brand in the world is their mission statement, or is the Ducati's goal is to be the most desirable two-wheel product.
So would the guys in Milwaukee disagree with you guys, though? In Milwaukee, Wisconsin? Harley Davidson?
I mean, I like to think that they would, but I mean, personally, I would not
you
desire
don't worry about
Harley Davidson more than a Ducati. obviously biased, but
yeah.
No, I think that there's very little to be worried about as long as the staff that you have on board is passionate and is committed.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is the motorcycle brand that when people think about.
And when I saw you at the bike show, and that was the first time I met you, and I had a little animosity because what had happened with the previous dealership, but you can't do anything with that. That's just an ownership that lost the dealership.
Yeah, and that didn't have a lot to do with Ducati.
No, but then when I met you, I knew Blackfoot's been here for 45 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stable dealership. They always have good product. And I think I bought the first Pikes Peak you ever sold, right?
Yeah, absolutely, you did.
Okay. Was I the first bike you sold?
You were the first Ducati I sold, absolutely.
Okay, so you always have to have...
Since Revolution.
So every Friday, what do you have? You have a toasted glass of wine to Steve Grover for selling your
here's
first
to
Ducati.
Steve. Pour one out. Absolutely.
All right. So let's talk about the Ducati brand, because it's gone through some changes. I mean, now they've been bought out by, is it Audi or Volkswagen?
Well, that's the same family, but they're part of the Audi group and the Volkswagen Auto group. Alongside, Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Bugatti, and Ducati.
Okay. So I know their heritage is Italian, but are they really a German motorcycle company now or no?
Well, what I like to think is that they're the perfect blend, and I don't want to get too profile-y.
Yeah.
But there's a reason that some of these stereotypes exist. The blend between Ducati and Audi has been a very, very mutually beneficial partnership. The Audi group bought Ducati relatively cheaply, and they've really grown the brand. So now I think that with Ducati, you do have, sure, there is that Germanic sensibility, pragmatism.
Yeah.
But it's blended with, you still have that Italian style and passion and design that they were so beloved for. So now you've got those two kind of in harmony, and it's the perfect, in my opinion, the perfect blend of style and substance.
Okay, so you have the hard-working husband who's very disciplined, and you got the crazy, trophy wife, Rose Bowl queen. Wife. Is that, you blend them together?
I'll go with that. I can roll with that.
And they buy the big house, and they have a couple kids. They belong to the Glencoe Club, and they have the perfect family, right?
Just right, because
it's just a good mix of German and Italian blood coming together.
Just like Paul Abdul said, opposites attract.
Right? And then Ducati's success has been. I mean, they obviously got a lot of money behind them right now with Audi.
Yeah, and that's really helped. They're able to have parts awaiting order. Instead of waiting for enough people to order to make their order. And just, when they were owned by the Holdings Corporation, there just was no money to support the brand. And a brand like that needs to have some capital.
So anyone looking at a Ducati now, they don't have to worry about reliability.
No,
there could be some, there's always that old thing,
for sure.
They're not reliable, and they're Italian, and they're not for Canada, and they break down.
Sure.
But all those myths are gone now with Audi behind them.
That stigma, it's tough to escape.
Yeah.
But the data doesn't show that they are unreliable, or that parts are unavailable, or that the service intervals are tight. In fact, with the new with your Multistrada Pikes Peak, V4 Pikes Peak, you've got the longest service interval in the industry at 60,000 kilometers. Parts are more readily available now for a 15-year-old bike than they were 15 years ago. They've really, really focused on kind of clearing some of the hurdles that customers may still perceive. Now, changing a mindset of the general populace is not overnight. So it's taking some time, but I get less and less of that every season. Like, this thing's going to be in the shop all the time. It's going to be expensive to own and maintain. It's not. That's dated information. It was very accurate in the early aughts.
Maybe those are the people who still don't forgive Coca-Cola for bringing out their Coke back in the 80s.
Right? Or they won't buy Bridgestone tires because of the Firestone thing 20 years ago. So if you're one of those people who you hear one thing and that's it. Your mind is made up. Well, I'm probably not going to change it, but the data doesn't agree with that idea of.
And there's some really sexy looking models. Obviously, why don't you talk about this little model behind you? This what is this?
Yeah,
what is this thing?
This is the 2020 Ducati Panigale V4S Anniversario, 916 Anniversario. So it was released to commemorate Carl Fogarty's championships with Ducati aboard the 916.
Okay.
So it has a similar livery to the 916 that Carl Fogarty rode. Got his little signature on it. It's a pretty special bike that you have, Steve, and one of 500 for the world.
You can't say it's mine because my wife might be watching. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have to buy
Tanya, this is not his.
Okay.
No, but it's one of 500 in the world.
Yeah.
And I would hazard to guess that it's worth a darn sight more now than it was when the owner purchased it.
And what's the horsepower on this thing?
This one would have been 215-ish horsepower.
That's not a lot, is it? No, not for a motorcycle.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, it weighs so much. It's like 440 odd pounds wet
it's
weight.
got titanium acrylic exhaust on the bottom.
Yeah, magnesium wheels. Carbon fiber all over it. It's a sexy bike, Steve.
It's got the dry clutch going.
Yeah, that's right. That's something that you don't see as many of on the Ducatis anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to be riding it on the road, you probably don't want a dry clutch. But
it chatters a lot.
Yeah, but that's the best part.
I know. Well, it was funny. One of my friends was riding his down in L.A. and he stops at a stop sign. This old lady pulls up beside him and said, "Sonny, there's something wrong with your motorcycle. It's making that weird noise."
I think everybody who's had a Ducati with a dry clutch has had an experience like that. Somebody at a gas station or car wash.
Your bike's falling apart, son.
When in actuality, it's music to my ears.
Yeah,
it's definitely a sound that is still pretty iconic for the brand.
Yeah.
But there's far fewer nowadays that run a dry clutch because it's just not practical for street riding.
Yeah. So obviously, you mentioned Audi Group bought out Ducati. They've also owned Lamborghini. Now there has been some merger between Ducati and Lamborghini about bringing these special models out.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's been really, really exciting. So Ducati decided that, hey, maybe we can leverage some of these partnerships to create some special units and build some excitement between a partnership between Ducati and, say, Lamborghini. So for 2021, they released the Diavel Lamborghini.
Yeah, okay.
And phenomenal success. It was sold out instantly. I think they learned that, hey, we can actually make a few bucks off of some of these, as some of the people who purchased them have done. So they're selling for triple, quadruple what they were retail. So they came out with their most recent collaboration with Lamborghini is the 2023 Street Fighter V4 Lamborghini. Okay. And that's again sold out. They hiked the price up considerably versus the old collaboration, the Diavel collaboration. But still, it did sold out instantly. And
so is there one coming in Alberta, or is it just not coming in Alberta?
As far as I know, there's one coming to Calgary. I'm not sure if there's any coming to Edmonton, though.
Okay. All right. So some lucky guy or gal may have one this summer, eh? When is it supposed to arrive?
I think visibility is probably going to be around, let's call it August to September.
Okay. Will we have it on the showroom for people to come and look at and just check it out?
That'll be up to the owner to decide, because that's a special.
Well, hopefully he or she's going to share the
show it off a little bit. Just again build that excitement and show people why is Ducati the top? Why is it the cream of the crop? Well, it's things like the Street Fighter Lamborghini that no other brand, not just because of the connection between Ducati and Lamborghini, but no other brand has ever tried anything really like this. It's really, really cool initiative that they're taking on to make these bikes even more special and to build themselves from a premium brand is where they're at right now. And I think they want to be the ultra premium. They want to be accessible, available in a multi-line dealership, but something that people are striving towards. And that's always been the case, but that's something that they're really trying to focus in on.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Audi also owns Bugatti, right?
Yeah.
So is there any talk about doing a Ducati Bugatti, which is kind of confusing because they almost
or a Ducati.
A Bugatti Ducati. Is there any talk about doing a model like that?
I have not heard anything. No? I will say that these brands these days, Steve, they're really good about only letting out what they want people to know.
Okay.
They're really good at keeping their cards close to their vest. There's very few times where I know that something's coming more than a couple of days in advance. They're really good about keeping that stuff under wraps.
You think they will bring out a Ducati Bugatti one day?
I think that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. So do you guys go away for education and learn about the Ducati brand every year for training?
There are in-person training sessions. Yeah. I haven't been able to attend one since we brought on the brand because 2019.
But I thought last year you went to Corsica.
I went to Sardinia in October.
So,
that was a little different. Instead of a training, that's what's called a global dealer conference. So all the dealerships from around the world come, and it's and there hadn't been one since 2020 There's 2020, COVID. And then there's no 2021, no 2022. Then 2023 was the first one. So the dealer conference, they're really neat. They take you out to a amazing locale, 5-star resort, amazing food. Yeah. They really show you the Ducati experience. Yeah, okay. Just so that you're reminded, okay, this is not your typical grungy, grimy, oily, greasy motorcycle brand or motorcycle clientele. It's another stratosphere of just the treatment that people get from the brand and the feeling that people get from the brand. Okay. It's a great experience. They teach you about all the new bikes that are coming out, but it's not a hands-on training course. It's sort of an introduction. Look, this is what we're coming out with for this year. This is what happened last year. Yeah. This is where we're trending. This is how we want to direct the brand, and this is how we want you to help. Okay. And then there's some awards, and then there's good times with lots of great motorcycles.
So is there going to be a retreat this year again?
There will be I assume there will be a 2023 dealer conference. Yeah. And hopefully I'm back in Italy in October.
Well, maybe you can suggest, hey, I know I was on this podcast in Calgary and the guest talked about a Bugatti Ducati. Yeah, that's a grill idea. Maybe you should fly that guy out and if we can prick his brain too.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts about the dealer conference is you get FaceTime with. I mean, I hard to get his ear, but Gigi Dall'Egna is there, or Claudio Domenicali, the CEO. He's there, and he's not surrounded by bodyguards. You could say, "Hey, Claudio,
how's it going?
Thank you for having me." Yeah. But you also get to chat with the designers and the engineers when you go to these product salons where they have the new models. Yeah. So the new Diavel V4 was there in October. And I got to chat with the engineers and the designers about, hey, what about this? Why didn't you do that? Why did you do this like this? And get sort of straight from the horse's mouth why, how, what's going on. You can't get much in the way of future information. Like I said, they keep that pretty tight.
They zip it up pretty good. Eh?
And I know that. And at the end, I get to fill out a survey about how I felt about the new bikes, how I felt about the conference, and give some suggestions. So maybe I'll put Steve Grover says that
Ducati,
you guys need to do a Ducati Bugatti.
I don't want to see the price on that thing.
that could be steep, right?
Yeah. So obviously Ducati is this huge brand. They do sell, very nice, beautiful bikes. There's a sex appeal to it. There's the aura about Ducati. Would you agree with that? When you're selling it, you're just not selling a motorcycle. You're selling a whole lifestyle.
Yeah, brand. It's far more than just two wheels, a motor, and a handlebar. Okay. There's a seat too, right? So, but no, it's a brand that people aspire to own. It's a destination brand. A lot of people, they think. I mean, I remember when I bought my first Ducati. I was so jacked. I was
What
so
was your
amped
first
up.
Ducati?
The Monster.
Okay.
And
Which one was that? 821?
The Monster 796.
Okay. Yeah.
And I still have it.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm really proud to say I own. And when I say, oh yeah, no, I don't have a motorcycle. I have a Ducati. It's a different ownership experience entirely.
Okay.
And sure, I mean, maybe it sounds a little arrogant or maybe it sounds a little vain, but I don't think there's anything wrong in being proud to have that pride of ownership that Ducati really instills in people.
Yeah. Okay. So what are the big models like coming out this, like obviously we're already into the season, we're at the end of June, but what are the big models that were released this year, 2023, that have got a lot of sales or a lot of hoopla when people walk in the door at Blackfoot? Yeah,
it's been a really exciting year for Ducati this year. There's been some great new models. First and foremost, it's been lighting it up. The Desert X is Ducati going back to something that, well, not going back to, but going into something that they haven't really attacked a whole lot, is the off-road market, off-road specific market. They took some heavy influence from the Cagiva Elephant, which used a Ducati motor to design the Desert X. Reviews have been very, very positive on it. My sales manager, Toby, he's a tough guy to please, especially with off-road parts or off-road bikes, and he's a convert. He's like, okay, they proved me wrong.
I saw him about a month ago, and he showed me some video of him riding them on the weekend. It says Steve, the torque on it, it's pretty much the hyper motor rod engine a little bit put in the Desert X, wouldn't it be?
Yeah. So
and he's a hard guy to please.
Yeah, exactly. That's their Testostrata motor. Puts out 110 to 114 horsepower, depending on the bike.
You don't need a 200 horsepower like adventure bike,
not for off-road.
Not for off-road.
That'd be a little bit overkill. But then they pair it with a 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear wheel, 230 mils of suspension travel, cross-spoke tubeless wheels. And then it's got all the niceties that often people are adding aftermarket. It's got braided steel lines. It's got cruise control. It's got a quick shifter on it. It's got a full color dash.
And this is all standard?
This is all standard equipment. It's a really well equipped bike, and it rides as good as it looks. And for a brand that, like I say, is not super familiar with the off-road category, they really hit it out of the park with this bike.
So that's been a popular selling bike this year.
That's been very popular.
What's the next popular
I'd
bike?
say that the next one that's really grabbed people would be the new Diavel V4.
Oh yeah, the new one.
They're taking the V4 Gran Turismo motor and putting it into the Diavel. So the V4 Gran Turismo is somewhat famous for ditching Ducati's signature valve train, desmodromic valve train, where you use rocker arms to close the valves as opposed to springs. Incidentally, the desmodromic valve train works really, really well for high RPM riding. When you're right at that rev limiter, the benefit of it is there's no valve float, so those valves are always getting closed. On a bike like your Pikes Peak Gran Turismo or Multistrada or the Diavel V4, where people are maybe not riding right on the rev limiter very often, well, why would you need a desmodromic valve train? Maybe we can do without that, but take what we've learned about stretching the intervals, the service intervals on a desmodromic valve train, because they've done a great job of that. They were, and your old Pikes Peak, it was a 30,000 kilometer service interval, which was far from the shortest interval on the market. It was pretty standard. And then by taking what they've learned to stretching those intervals in terms of processes, in terms of materials, alloys, hardening techniques, what have you, they've been able to extend that service interval to 60,000 kilometers. Because, let's face it, if you're riding a Diavel or a Multistrada, sure, you might get after it once in a while, but you're not riding it on the limit all the time. So a little bit of power loss due to valve float occasionally wouldn't be the worst thing. I think the trade-off to double your service interval is appreciated.
And then, so obviously that's a new, the Diavel V4 engine, that's a big one. They're going to probably bring out a V4S soon, you think? Or just keep it a V4?
I'm curious to see what's coming for 2024. Like I say, they're pretty good about keeping their cards close to their vest. The DeVal V4, it's super badass. And big, fat, 240 section rear tire, low seat height, but it's light and it performs and it handles and it's got 168 horsepower and it kind of touches a lot of different bases. It's a sport bike in a cruiser riding position, and it just crosses all these boundaries. It's hard to put it into a box. Is it a naked bike? Is it a cruiser? Is it a sport bike? What is it? Is it a touring bike? It's got cruise control. It's got a quick shifter on it. What is it? It's got a big fat tire on it, but then the bike can hit 43 degrees of lean angle, which you just don't have in that sort of riding position. So it's a really, really unique machine. Okay. So DeVal V4 would probably be the next most popular.
Then after that, where would you put number 3?
Out of the new stuff would be the Multistrada V4 Rally. Okay. So that's a new bike that I haven't seen many of yet. We've received 2. One was pre-sold, and now we've got one for the showroom, and it's a stunning machine. But basically, what they were able to do is they took the Multistrada V4, but they were able to add 8 liters of fuel capacity to it. However, the bike doesn't look 8 liters of fuel larger. It's the same size as the traditional Multistrada V4, which was a neat feat. They've extended the suspension travel by about 30 millimeters, and it's stunning to look at. Brushed aluminum tank. And
is this more of like an off-road touring Multistrada?
It'd be a little bit more towards the off-road with a longer suspension travel. Okay. However, I mean, it's a Globetrotter. It's designed to go anywhere and everywhere.
Would this be like a main competitor to obviously the BMW 1250 GS is always the king of off-roading bikes. Is that a competitor to the GS bikes?
I would say that the Multistrada V4S would be the competitor to the BMW R1250 GS, and the Multistrada V4 Rally would be more of a competitor towards the R1250 GS Adventure with the larger fuel tank capacity, longer suspension travel.
So if you're going to travel around the world, you get a Rally, correct?
Yeah.
If you're just going to Bragg Creek and home.
Shorter tours, for sure.
You don't need a Rally. No.
I mean, I think everybody needs a Rally.
Well, you love the sales on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's one of those priced out the door all in?
Oh, geez, Steve. Let's call it about $35,000.
Okay, so you only have to give up a pint of blood. Half a pint.
They're very well equipped. They do come with aluminum cases. They do come with heated seats, heated grips, center stand. Some of the neat features on the Multistrada V4 that are kind of across the V4 lineup are their advanced rider assistance systems, ARAS. So there's 2 radars on the new Multistrada V4s that came out as of 2021. Front-facing radar for adaptive cruise control, so it'll slow the bike down if it comes up on somebody with the cruise control engaged. And rear-facing radar for blind spot monitoring. It's the first bike on the market with either of those technologies. It's still the only bike on the market with both of those technologies, as far as I know. I don't want to make any mistakes here, but it's a really, really, really neat package. And the technologies work really well, so it's got a lot to offer for that price.
Now, I mean, obviously, Ducati's got a big, price tag. The prices are going up. You can get like 25, 30, 40. I mean, some of these bikes get to $60,000.
Yeah.
But they've also marketed Ducati Smart, I think, with the Scrambler.
Yeah.
And those are more affordable. Like, you can have a fun time, have a Ducati, but you don't have to spend $40,000 out the door to have a Ducati.
Absolutely not.
So tell us about the Scrambler line. How did that come about, and how's that success? Has it been a good success?
Yeah. Funny that you mentioned the Scrambler line. 2023 is the year for the first major update to the Scrambler lineup. So the second generation has arrived.
Okay.
What they've added is a ride-by-wire throttle, full color dash. They've lightened up the bike. It's a little punchier. Aesthetically, it's a little different. The Scrambler lineup, the way I look at the whole Ducati showroom is there's sort of 2 sections to it. There's your Ducati section and there's your Scrambler section. And there's a clear line in the floor where the tiles change color, and one side's the Scrambler side and one side's the Ducati side. I look at the Ducati side. this is all about how much can we push design and engineering and technology and style forward, and how can we advance motorcycle technology. And that's how they market it. It's all about the technology, all about the horsepower, about the adaptive cruise control, the blind spot monitor, and all these cool features that these bikes have, and all the amazing technology that they've been developing for them, in the really modern style. All the points and the lines on the bikes are very modern. And then you look at the scrambler side of the room, and it's far less about that. The marketing is about it's lifestyle. It's about, here's a cool bike. It looks good. It's fun to ride. Sounds good, and it's relatively affordable to buy. And you're riding a Ducati. And it's a sick looking bike that turns heads. It's fun to ride. It's not easy to outride. It's not like it's something that you're going to be tired of right away. It's more about just having fun riding bikes. It doesn't take itself as seriously. And that's kind of the balance that they're trying to strike between the two families.
So, I mean, at Blackfoot, people come in and they always have preconception, like, oh, Ducati's very expensive. But, obviously they're trying to appeal to everybody. I mean, what's the scrambler? What's the starting point for a scrambler nowadays? Like, what's the lowest one price-wise?
Yeah, I think the newest ones now, the scrambler icons, let's see, they went up by like $800. I think they're like $12,300.
Yeah, for a Ducati.
For a Ducati, you're riding a Ducati.
What's the range of the scrambler? You go anywhere from 12 to what? 25?
About 20. Yeah, so, 20, 21 for the scrambler. They have a second motor, the Scrambler 1100s.
But the point is people shouldn't be shying away like, oh my God, it's a Ducati. I have to spend $45,000 cash.
Not all expensive.
Come and see Miles, and you can get into a scrambler and have fun and still tell your friends you ride a Ducati, right?
I mean, or a Monster if you like something more modern. They're around $17,000. Well, 15 plus fees and tax, so $15,000 MSRP. I would say. Yeah, you don't. It's happened many times where customers will come up and like, oh, we can't afford anything in here, and then they look at the price tag and go, well, I thought these were going to be way more expensive, and so my line is, well, I'll charge you more if you want me to, but no, they don't have to be.
So I give Ducati, at the end of the day, I think it is a sexy motorcycle market, and it's a good brand, and you can buy something like the Foggy, okay? Yeah. Or you can appeal to the 16-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid, or even the 40-year-old man that doesn't want to spend $30 or $40,000. Get a nice scrambler, $15,000. It's going to be reliable. You're going to have fun in it, and you're riding Ducati, right? Yeah,
they're easy to ride. They're difficult to outride. Yeah. You can be a novice rider, get on something like a Scrambler 800 or a Monster, and it's a bike that you're not going to outgrow. But you can be a novice rider, jump on one of those bikes, ride it. And not struggle because they're so light, right? Because they really put a focus and an emphasis on keeping bikes lightweight. Hardest thing to do on a motorcycle is ride it really slowly. And the lighter it is, the easier that is. And when people are novice riders, it's usually the slow speed riding where they struggle getting the bike up off of its side stand.
So it's definitely not like a Cowie 300cc that you get sick of after 3 months.
Exactly, right? It's something that you can jump on as a brand new rider, but you're not going to be outriding that bike for years.
Okay. And so the Ducati model, the Scrambler, it's kind of interesting that there's the 1100 one, the black one. It's on. Do you still have that one in your floor?
I do, yeah.
So what is that model?
Scrambler 1100 Sport Pro.
That's a pretty cool looking bike.
Gorgeous bike. Yeah. Fantastic componentry. It's the Scrambler 1100s use the old Monster 1100 and Hypermotor 1100 motors. The Scrambler 800s use the old S2R 800, Monster M797. So both motors that have been around for a while, they're still air-cooled motors. They don't have all the liquid cooling on them. But that's part of what keeps the cost down, part of what keeps the weight down, and part of what gives them their appeal is the lack of a radiator. Cooling fins on a motor is something that you just don't see on the other side of the showroom. And that's what a lot of people think a motorcycle motor is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be these rectangular things with fins on them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it echoes that throwback style with a modern design element. Mm-hmm. So they don't want it to be. They don't want to try and copy a brand like Royal Enfield or Triumph or Harley Davidson, where it looks exactly the way now as it did 60 years ago or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
They want it to be. It harkens, takes some influence from that, just like the Desert X, takes some influence from that, but blends it with a little bit of a modern style and some modern technology like cornering traction control and cornering ABS and ride-by-wire throttle and quick shifters and all these things.
All right. And yeah, I mean, and just talking about new models, I think it was 2 months ago I was up there talking, and also I saw this SP Monster. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that model.
Yeah, so that's new for 2023 as well. The Monster lineup, introduced, I believe, 1992 with the M900.
And it went crazy, didn't it?
It was
sold out. Like,
yeah.
It's been just a great model for Ducati.
It's been very, very popular.
Yeah.
The initial idea behind the Monster was not to be a monster bike. In fact, the name came from the designer having, this is a story that I'd read somewhere, the designer was looking for a name, and one of his things was when he went away on a business trip, he'd always bring his son back a little toy monster. Yeah. And so he came back from a business trip, and he's still thinking about, what am I going to name this cool new bike? And his son is like, Monstro. And he's like, oh yeah, Monster for my kid. Yeah, hey, wait a second. That's a pretty cool name. Yeah. And so the name wasn't designed to be intimidating. It was just something that they'd come up with. Yeah. The idea behind the Monster was to be a stepping stone into the brand. Like this is a bike that's accessible, it's affordable, it's easy to ride. It was a road-going motor inside a sort of sport bike frame with no fairings and an upright handlebar, more upright riding position.
Like a naked bike.
Naked bike. It was one of the first Street Fighter type bikes, alongside the Triumph Speed Triple. Yeah. But what happened was people really liked the bike, which is great. Yeah. They said it would be even better if you put in bigger motor and build it up and really make it into a monstrous monster. And so they did, and it was hugely popular to the point in 2020 they had 7 different monster trims. Okay. They were also introducing the Street Fighter V4 and V4S in 2020. Yeah. So that's 9 bikes in that sport naked category. Oh yeah. That's a little bit too much of a catalog to be developed to be focused on one brand. So they think, and I'm putting words in Ducati's mouth here, but they think to themselves, okay, we have too many of this type of bike. There's too many monsters. The lineup is confusing. It had 3 different motors that you could choose from. Yeah. And then within those motors, like I said, 7 different trims in total. Look, we got to skew this down. We can't have this many of the same bike. So they decide, okay, what was the Monster supposed to be? Let's distill it back to the essence of the Monster. Yeah. A bike that's accessible, that's affordable, that's a road motor in a sport bike style frame. And that's where the Monster is now, the 2021 Monster and on. And I heard it said once that if the 1992 to 2020 had not existed and they were coming at it fresh, look, this is how we're going to build it. The current Monster is exactly what they would have done.
I know they've gone through redesign with the Monster. Has there been a big appeal to it nowadays with the new, because they've gone away from the frame a little bit?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's maybe foolish to criticize a brand for improving the bike. Yeah. Because it is an obvious improvement, not just on the SP, but on the other Monster.
But what's been the reception of the new design? Generally, you're seeing people all day long are people happy with the new design of the Monster?
Yeah, when they see it up close and personal, absolutely. Okay. People are shocked. It looks great in person. Yeah. There's going to be traditionalists who say that it's not a Monster without a trellis frame, and I mean, I don't know that that's...
Well, you're going to have these old buggers that complain about it.
There's always...
You got the old 911 Porsche guys.
Yeah,
and, I can't accept...
I
can't accept the Cayenne anymore. And the Cayenne's the number one selling, vehicle for Porsche. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they can't probably kept Porsche around.
No, you should not be trying to
And
placate
Ferrari,
traditionalists.
Lamborghini went to SUV, and the Urus has just been a great seller in Canada and North America and Saudi Arabia or where in China. You know.
Exactly. I mean, nobody complained when, or at least not to my knowledge, when the Panigale 1199 was introduced, and they did away with the trellis frame off the 1198, 1098. 999, 998, 996, 916. You know, that trellis frame. Yeah. Nobody seemed to complain when the sport bike ditched a bunch of weight with a monocoque aluminum frame, cast aluminum frame. Well, why would people be up in arms over doing it on the Monster? Mm-hmm. Because on the Panigale, when they went from the superbike to the Panigale, that's incredible progress. The bike is faster, the bike is lighter, the bike is better handling. Yeah. Well, why does the Monster not get the same kudos for being faster, lighter, better handling? Yeah. So I think that saying that it's not the same bike is absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, but it's been a good seller. The new redesigned Monster down in Blackfoot.
It's still popular. Because it's lightweight, inexpensive Ducati that's easy to ride. Yeah. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. The Monster SP you brought up, well, that adds some higher spec equipment, better brake caliper, better fork, better shock, and a steering damper from standard.
It's got Olin suspension, doesn't it?
Yeah, Olin's fork and shock, and then a Sachs steering damper. It's got better front caliper, the Brembo M50s. Yeah. It's got better tires on it, and then it looks incredible.
I know. And I remember when up there and my jaw dropped, like, this is a monster, and I think you were there, and it's like, oh, and then I went away and I slept on it, like, I want this bike, I want this bike, I want this bike, and I text you, I don't know if you remember, like, what's the price out the door? I think it's 22 out the door, something like that.
Yeah, it'd be about that. I think they're 20,000 plus.
But it's a reasonable price. I mean, 22, 23 out the door. You're not paying.
I think it'd be less than that.
And it's a beautiful bike. It's red with black Olin suspension. It looks aggressive.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal. Yeah. The improvements. People don't really appreciate the benefit of an Olin suspension. It's some sort of, I'm not sure their magic formula, how they're able to do this, but bikes with Olin suspension tend to be more comfortable at the same time as better performing. Mm-hmm. Usually those two are somewhat mutually exclusive when it comes to suspension, but they've got it figured out. It's a better bike to ride. Oh yeah. But there's a $3,000 price difference.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I kept on thinking about it, and I just finally talked myself out of it. I can't have another bike right now. I got some other bike coming this summer, and just let it settle for a while. All right. Yeah, we'll let it percolate. Have you ridden the SP, the new one? What's
absolutely.
It like? What's it like as
Honestly,
a
bike? It is super easy to ride, just like all the other Monsters, but I don't consider myself a fantastic rider by any stretch of the imagination, but I kind of know my way around a bike. Yeah. And I don't feel like I'm really coming close to its potential. Being able to push
it's a fun bike to have in Calgary.
It's a phenomenal road bike. It's just bike.
If you just want to get one Sunday and rip around town and maybe go up to Brad Creek and come back and do a little twisties, you're just going to have a hell of a time, right?
Terminioni exhaust on it. Oh, it sounds phenomenal.
It looks great.
Yeah. But it rides so well. Yeah. It just the way that these bikes have progressed since my Monster 796 to this Monster, it's a completely different brand almost.
Yeah. I mean, like. You don't need a leader bike like beside you to have fun. You can you can have fun on a hyper multi rod for 21,000. Absolutely. Have fun in a scrambler. You can get a Monster SP and just have giggles all day long, right?
And you're on a Ducati, and it's going to turn heads, and it's going to get attention.
The women are going to look at you. The dudes are going to look at you.
Whoever you want.
Whatever you want. Yeah, even the moose on the road, like, what the hell? What was that? Right?
Yeah, they'll hear it, and they'll probably scatter pretty good. But it's a great riding bike. If you want, I'll be happy to take you out on a test ride.
Well, I know you want. You'll gladly take my money after the test ride.
Take your money, yes.
My bank account will be short 23 grand.
I always say I'd much rather ride the bikes than talk about them. Yeah, so if anybody wants to come for a test ride, please hit me up. Okay. I'm sure you'll put my contact information on the screen. Yeah. But please hit me up. I would love to take anybody out there for a test ride. Just have a Class 6 license and some time to kill, and we'll go for a ride.
You'll gladly sell them a nice bike.
If I sell it or not, I'm happy to take somebody out for a cruise. And I want everybody to experience the bikes and experience the brand and experience,
the lifestyle.
Yeah, because when people get a chance to ride it, and when we spark those bikes up and we ride out in front of the dealership and there's people out front and everybody stops and like, whoa, what's that? It helps people understand why I'm so passionate about the brand. Yeah. It's
why
just
people spend that kind of money.
Why people spend the money. I mean, you get what you pay for and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you break it down, the components on these bikes, you're getting your money's worth out of all of them. It doesn't matter if it's made in Italy or Austria or Japan or Thailand or India. You're getting what you pay for.
So now that Ducati with Audi behind it, reliability, supply chain's excellent. You also get a great bike. Beautiful red bike. You get a nice black bike now. Ducati, they've got a V2, the V4 Street Fighter now in black, looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And you get a lifestyle. You're selling not only a motorcycle, but you're also buying one heck of a bike and also a little culture that goes with it too.
You have entry into the club. And if you ever make it to a MotoGP race as a Ducati owner, you have entry into Ducati Island.
Yeah.
But if you do not own a Ducati,
I didn't know that. So would I just show my card and they'll let me in, or they just trust?
I would have to find out some of the details on it, but yes, you have to prove that you're a Ducati owner. So
can I just call you on speed dial and you'll say Steve bought maybe one bike for me?
Absolutely. I'll answer your call any time of day or night, Steve.
All right. So obviously Ducati's come a far way in the last 20, 30 years, and you don't have it's appealing to everybody. You got the Scrambler line, you've got a V2 Street Fighter, you can go to a
Desert X, you can travel off road. Absolutely.
If you want the ultimate, you spend $100,000 for the Super Lareja. And just but at the end of the day, I mean, you shouldn't have people shying away just because it's a Ducati name.
No.
You guys welcome everybody.
Oh yeah, it's such a cool community too. You're part of the Ducatista when you own a Ducati, and it doesn't matter race, color, creed, religion, gender, lack of whatever you want to. You're always welcome in the Ducati community. And you've been on the rally. It's a community that is very accepting, very open, and you've got old guys, young guys, ladies, men. People of all shapes, sizes, everybody's there, and they're just there to appreciate their bikes and their brand
and have a fun time.
Okay,
cool.
It is something. Well, look at us both. We're wearing the shirts, and I don't know the data for sure, but if I were to estimate, I'd say that out of the brands that we sell, the casual apparel for Ducati is probably the best selling.
All right. So even if you don't want to spend $22,000 on a Monster, you just go and see, and you can buy a $40 T-shirt and just
say,
walk around,
pretend
I got a Ducati, but no one will know anyways.
Nobody will know, but you'll know.
Yeah,
you'll know, and you'll know that you're a pretender, and that you want to be. You want to have it.
But even with the T-shirt, you're probably part of the Ducati culture.
Yeah, I mean, you're still one of us. As long just appreciating the brand, appreciating the team, appreciating Pecco Bagnaia, cheering for Pecco, and cheering for Ducati Corsa, and it's something that people aspire to own, but it's not that it's inaccessible. Yeah. Like a Lamborghini is.
Well, you got to spend $300,000-$400,000 on a Lambo, but you can buy a Ducati for $12,000. Be part of it, have a lifestyle too, and enjoy your ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can buy the Panigale V4R. That's another very popular new bike this year. The race spec, race ready Panigale V4R, $53,000.
Yeah.
But you've got the pinnacle of motorcycle design, pinnacle of motorcycle engineering. And it's under $60,000.
Yeah.
So compare that to spending what's the pinnacle of an automobile engineering design?
Well, that's $500,000 now for a Lamborghini.
Well,
or $800,000 for a Rolls Royce Cullinan.
Well, let's put it like this: that Lamborghini Sian that the Diavel Lamborghini was based off of is $3.5 million, and that was a few years ago. So you're well into the millions.
Did you see the speedboat they had too? The Lamborghini Ducati speedboat?
No, I did not.
Conor McGregor bought one. He had one in Monte Carlo. You can see it on YouTube. $6 million US.
Oh my gosh!
So they had the bike, They had the car, and they also came up with the Lamborghini Ducati speedboat.
Oh, okay.
So, Connor's got one.
That. I will have to check that.
You have to just Google Connor.
$6 million bucks.
Yeah, US though.
So what are you waiting for? Buy a Ducati for $15,000
exactly.
and gee whiz.
And you can be as cool as Conor McGregor.
Just like Connor.
But just don't cause havoc like him, okay? Just be a nice guy.
Be a nice guy, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, Miles. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's always good to talk to you about motorcycling and a great brand out there, Ducati. Yeah. So, I wish you all the best in your future career, and, we'll see you out there on the road, okay?
Absolutely. So
all right.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, great.
Let's go for a test ride.
All right, yeah. So sell me another bike. I don't need. Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining us for this episode. Obviously, hopefully everyone learned about Ducati, just not only a great brand, but it's an accessible brand for everybody. And, if you want to hit the road and, have a nice Italian bike, you don't have to spend $60,000. You can get in there for $12,000-15,000 and go see my friend Miles, and he'll gladly take care of you like he has taken care of me over the years. And hopefully I see you out on the road. Have a great evening. Cheers.
Ciao.